Hello, I'm Dan, and this is Dan Explains. Before I begin, I'd just like to say thanks to all my old and new subscribers for subscribing and watching my videos, because I finally reached 1,000 subscribers. I know it's not a big milestone for most YouTubers, but my eclectic interests don't tend to work well with the algorithm. Okay, on to the video. People who have followed me for a while will know I occasionally talk about space-related topics, especially SpaceX's Starship, which is supposed to be the world's first fully reusable orbital-capable rocket. With the recent events landing Starship in the news again, I wanted to talk about just that. Just what? Starship Landing, of course. Or the lack thereof. The intent of the last mission wasn't to land Starship, so it should be no surprise they didn't try. However, they intend to try and recover it as early as 2024. I think it's probably going to be the biggest hurdle they've encountered so far. Let me explain why. If you're still watching, you're probably someone who's aware the biggest difference between Starship and any other currently operating rocket, besides its size, is the fact that they intend to make it fully reusable. The people at SpaceX aren't the first people to try and reuse spaceships. NASA's Space Shuttle was the first reusable second stage. And they also refurbished the solid rocket boosters, which a lot of people like to call stage 1.5, although the main propellant tank was completely discarded. So the shuttle was only about 2/3 reusable, which is still better than SpaceX's currently flying, partially reusable Falcon 9, where the first stage is recovered, but the second stage is usually completely expended. Although with cargo and Crew Dragons, they do recover the capsule. That is only a small part of the second stage, and it only makes up a small percent of SpaceX's total Falcon 9 launches. Falcon 9 is probably still way closer to the final goal of reusability than Space Shuttle was, because of the difference in the cost and the turnaround time. We're not sure exactly how cheap a Falcon 9 is to fly, because SpaceX is a private company. But ton for ton, it's way cheaper than the Space Shuttle ever was. With the Space Shuttle, it actually costs more to refurbish and reuse the shuttles and the boosters than it would have if they just kept using the fully expendable and much more capable Saturn V's. In order to save weight, SpaceX has decided to change the landing methods, going from the Falcon 9 to Starship. The Falcon 9 booster lands with legs. Starships and its boosters will literally be plucked out of the air using giant arms SpaceX calls chopsticks. Looking at the booster in the Starship, you'd assume they try to catch them by the grid fins and or the flaps, but nope. They intend to try to catch them using pins and holes that look something like a trailer coupler on a truck. Looking at Starship's track record up until now, it doesn't look like this is going to be easy. Even when considering the mature Falcon 9 landing system, you can see the booster seldom hits the bullseye when it comes to the landing accuracy. Now, the Falcon 9 has to perform what's called a hover slam or suicide burn because its minimum thrust is too powerful to hover. So, the landing burn must be carefully timed so that the booster reaches zero velocity at exactly the moment the legs finish deploying. So, starships in the booster should be a bit better off since they will be able to hover. But the tolerance is also way smaller and the momentum and force of the vehicles way higher. So, the vehicle will have to stop at just the right point with exactly the right correct rotation so the chopsticks can slide its peg into the vehicle's tiny hole. All the Barry White music in the world would not make that any easier than it sounds. At least not without mangling the fins, flaps, or tiles, which is another topic I'll get to in a second. If the Starship at least had pins sticking out, catching would be easier, more akin to trying to snag a passing bar or rope with a hook, rather than trying to throw an apple through an open moonroof of a passing car. And believe me when I say, that's difficult. Don't ask me why I know. Even if they do get recovering the boosters with the chopsticks down pat, there's an additional issue with recovering the second stage, and that's the heat shield tiles. Those things are extremely fragile. The slightest bump and they crack and fall off. SpaceX has to replace them constantly, and that's on vehicles that have yet to fly. The Space Shuttle initially had a similar issue. Fixing that issue is what turned the Space Shuttle from an easy and cheap vehicle to turn around into a long, expensive vehicle to turn around. They initially had a simple system for attaching the tiles, like Starship has, but they figured out the only way to hold them on was with glue, and there could be absolutely no gaps. So the fragility of the heat tiles could easily go from a back burner issue to making the whole Starship project untenable. When the subject has been brought up about the fragility of the tiles and the gaps between them, Elon Musk has said it's something they're working on, and the gaps will close when the tiles heat up and expand. Considering the tiles fall off every time the Starship is picked up by the chopsticks, I don't think it'll be possible for them to stay stuck on long enough for the tiles to expand and close those gaps during the shaking and bumps of re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. Not to mention all the tiles that are lost during launch. Getting data on this was one of the goals of this latest Starship launch, and we all know how that went. Although, to SpaceX's credit, they didn't expect the ship to survive re-entry. If they ever get good data for how well the heat tiles work, I wouldn't be surprised if they make some big changes to how the tiles are attached, if they keep them at all. Either way, they have a long road to reaching the goal of making Starship reusable. Thank you for watching, and thanks again for helping me reach 1,000 subscribers. If you're not yet a subscriber, please help me to reach the next milestone by pressing the like button, subscribe to my channel, and ding the bell to get notified when I post new videos. Also, please support me on Patreon, link in the description. The more people support me, the more time I can dedicate to making videos like this one. So, until next time, have a great week.